begins with a sound, a single, distant sound. Recorded long after the war it was meant to monitor had ended. Captured by a Cold War hydrophone. A low, rolling tremor. Rises through the water like a mountain breathing, then vanishes. In the hush that follows, we drift. Aboard a quiet research vessel, the night is still, save for the rain tapping on the deck like soft, curious fingers. Inside the control room, a single red light casts a warm glow. The hatch opens. A small submersible, our eyes and ears in the deep, begins its descent. Its floodlight cuts a bright cone into the velvet dark, illuminating a blizzard of marine snow, each particle drifting like slow winter toward the abyss. The color of the deep is a living thing. It starts as a rich teal, then fades to a solemn midnight, and finally, to a blue so dark it feels less like a color and more like a memory. Inside our small craft, the only sounds are the gentle murmur of instruments. A display ticks off the depth, meter by meter. Oxygen levels are steady. The hull creaks, the sound of an old ship telling a secret under immense pressure. The tether connecting us to the world above hums with data, a lifeline through the crushing dark. The world we left behind recedes, until it's just a rumor, a distant story. We are descending into an ocean of myths and measurements, a place where krakens and equations swim side by side, where the songs of sirens are logged by sensors. Here, the line between folklore and field notes blurs in the endless blue. This ocean has twin temperaments. It can be perfectly motionless, yet teeming with life. It can feel vast and empty, yet crowded with unseen presences. I think of ancient sailors standing on moonlit decks, watching lights bloom beneath the hull bioluminescent plankton, answering every ripple, turning the sea into a field of stars. Now, in our age, we return to these same waters, but with fiber optic umbilicals and sensitive ears, once used to listen for enemy submarines. Today, those ears are tuned to the voices of the seafloor itself. Sound travels farther and faster here than anywhere else on Earth, and the ocean keeps its secrets well. Some of those secrets, some of those sounds, have names whispered like spells. Bloop, Upsweep. Slow down, Julia. We'll come back to them, but for now, let their syllables just hang in the water, ringing with mystery. The submersible lightens its thrust, settling into a gentle glide. On the sonar screen, a dark horizon appears. It's a strange, unexpected line, looking like a second seafloor floating thousands of feet above the true bottom. The screen freckles with activity, then glows with a sudden intensity. In the beam of our floodlight, a particle storm flares and then dims, and in the distance, something like a vast, underwater murmuration stirs. This is the deep scattering layer, a false bottom that moves. It rises when night falls on the surface and sinks when the dawn creeps over the waves. It's a living boundary, a continent of creatures without bone or stone. Our descent bends toward it, slower now, quieter. We are intruders in this realm. Lanternfish blink their cold, blue lights and vanish. A jellyfish, ancient and elegant, lifts a translucent bell like a floating cathedral, pulsing softly in the dark. We are not here to conquer anything. We are not explorers in the old sense, planting flags or claiming territory. We are here simply to listen, to drift, to witness. The ocean does not hurry. It waits, and only when it chooses, it shows a little piece of itself. The line on the sonar breathes. The living night gathers around us. The false seafloor draws near. As we descend further, the ocean floor seems to rise up to meet us. But this is no ordinary seabed. It's a living, breathing entity. A migrating sky beneath our feet. We're entering the deep scattering layer. Imagine millions upon millions of tiny lives, all rising as one at dusk. There are lanternfish, their bodies dotted with pinprick lamps, swarms of shrimp that crackle with a sound like distant rain, and squid sketched in quicksilver, flashing in and out of existence. Then, as dawn approaches, this entire world sinks again, a gentle, timeless pulse in the heart of the ocean. This is the largest migration on the planet, a story the ocean tells twice a day, every day. For most of human history, it went completely unseen. It wasn't until World War II that we even knew it was there. Sonar operators, tracking enemy submarines, were baffled by a shimmering band that appeared on their screens each night. They thought it was land, a phantom bottom that lifted and fell with the sun. Tekadit, a ghost. And in a way, it was. Not a trick of electronics, but the collective breath of life itself. Let's slow down. Easing through this underwater galaxy. Our sub's lights catch and release on shimmering scales. A slow, gentle snowfall of plankton drifts past the viewport. A comb jelly floats by, raking neon teeth through the blackness. The full seafloor flexes around us, then parts. A streamer of fish turns as one, a silver ribbon in the dark, and then dissolves back into the void. In the distance, a silhouette lengthens and contracts. Is it a squid unfurling its tentacles? Or just a trick of shadow and pressure? We keep our distance, respecting this ancient rhythm. This nightly spectacle isn't just a modern discovery. It's woven into our own history. Think of old sailors' notebooks, their pages speckled with salt, filled with entries puzzled over in the dim light of a lamp. For centuries, mariners wrote of strange lights that chased their oars through the water, of stars that seemed to fall from the sky and swim away into the depths. They were witnessing this, but without the words to explain it. The truth is somehow gentler and far stranger than any myth. These are tiny creatures with chemical lanterns, lighting themselves for reasons older than our own language. A brief spark might be a warning, a lure for a mate, or a clever act of camouflage, a silent vocabulary written in fleeting moments of light. Now, we move on. The layer begins to thin as we continue our descent. Below us, the true bottom waits. This is a landscape etched by powerful currents, sculpted by vents of hot and cold, and pocked with the scars left by the slow rain of debris from the world above over countless centuries. The sub's powerful light reaches out, stretching across the abyss, and finds something unusual, a ripple that doesn't behave like sand. The water there looks different, heavier, almost glossy, like a dark mirror set within the stone of the seafloor. As we get closer, we see tiny white mussels clustered on a pale rim. Bacterial mats, thick and ancient, curl at the edges like old parchment. We drift closer still, and a shared feeling fills the cabin, a sense of wonder that needs no words. We're looking at a lake within the sea, a shoreline in the eternal dark. Our beam skims across a gleaming surface that shivers and ripples, but refuses to mix with the water around it. Without haste, we begin to sink toward it. An imagined smell, the scent of long-closed rooms and mineral breath, seems to fill the air. The pressure, the silence, the sheer alien nature of this place is palpable. Ahead of us, the ocean is preparing to reveal another of its profound secrets. We've arrived at a brine pool, a place where the fundamental rules of the ocean begin to tilt and change. We're descending again, but this time the seafloor presents something utterly alien. It's a lake at the bottom of the ocean. Its edge seems almost alive, a delicate white fringe stitched along a border where the very nature of water changes. This isn't seawater as we know it. It's a brine pool, so much heavier and saltier that it refuses to mix with the ocean around it, creating a distinct underwater shoreline. Our ROV's lights catch the sleek sheen of its surface, which ripples without breaking, reflective and strange, like liquid mercury. Watch this, a small crab scuttles to the very lip and then holds, its antennae twitching, as if it's tasting a word it simply doesn't recognize. This is a cold seep, a place where methane and hydrogen sulfide bleed from the Earth's crust. Here, life has abandoned the sun and learned an entirely new way to eat. It all starts with bacteria, feasting not on light, but on pure chemical energy. These microbes bloomed like delicate frost on the rock, and they formed the base of an entire ecosystem. They nourished vast beds of mussels, clams, and tube worms, creating pale, otherworldly gardens in the crushing dark. Look at this mussel bed, clinging to the rim like a civilization holding fast to the edge of a precipice, said a thin shimmering plume of bubbles rising from the sediment. They ascend as slow as prayers, carrying the planet's secrets with them. In the Gulf of Mexico, Explorers once found a brine pool they grimly nicknamed the Jacuzzi of Despair. It was so intensely saline and toxic that any creature unlucky enough to fall in did not return. The rules are different here. There's a stark finality to this border. When our ROV's probe gently touches the lake's surface, its skin wrinkles, sending waves crossing within the water, a visible testament to its refusal to mix with the ocean above. It's a world within a world. It's hard not to think of the old stories, the ancient myths, in so many traditions. The underworld is bordered by rivers you must cross to enter the realm of the dead. The Styx, the Lethe, the River Ocean. And here, on the floor of our planet's own underworld, we've found another kind of border, a shoreline guarded not by spirits, but by chemistry. Along this strange coast, pale tube worms lift their red-tipped plumes, drinking in a chemical cocktail that no sunlight could ever sustain. This is chemosynthesis, and it hums in the background like an ancient engine. Quiet, undeniable proof that life does not belong to light alone. A shadow just passed over the brine, and then it was gone. Was it a school of fish, or a solitary wanderer drawn to the activity here? The surface of the pool shivers in response. For a single heartbeat, it acted as a perfect mirror, and it felt as though something vast and unseen was looking back at us from its depths. We hold our position. We breathe. We don't chase it. The mystery is part of the landscape. Our microphones pick up the soft, rhythmic clicking of crustaceans, the distant, steady hissing of the seep itself, and the faint, familiar hum of our own thrusters. We speak in quiet, hushed tones, as if in a cathedral. The ocean doesn't answer us, not in a way we can understand. Not exactly, but our journey isn't over. We lift our gaze, and our lights pan across the terrain beyond this bizarre lake. The seafloor rises into towering spires and chimneys, structures built where superheated water erupts from the crust and meets the freezing cold of the deep sea. Minerals precipitate out of the water in an instant, dissolving and rebuilding the rock in mere flickers of geological time. There's a warmth emanating from a ridge near Bicetal, but our sensors confirm it. A pale, shimmering haze trembles in the water column ahead, a mirage where seawater meets something elemental. Something born from deep within the planet. We guide the sub toward it, and the water around us begins to warp and distort. We are approaching the forge of the world, a place of white breath and black smoke, and we drift slowly into its warmth. From the absolute darkness, luminous edges begin to appear. It's like approaching a city at night, one built in the abyss. These are hydrothermal vent fields, the planet's hidden forges. Look, they're black smokers, spewing dark, superheated clouds rich in iron and sulfur, like ink made of pure heat. And over there, white smokers, exhaling milky plumes of barium, calcium, and silicon. Chimneys stack upon chimneys, structures that build themselves, moment by moment, as searing hot water collides with the freezing cold of the deep. Our lights catch a colony of tube worms, their red plumes swaying in the current like a forest from a forgotten book of dreams. All around, life thrives in this impossible place. Blind shrimp creep along walls that sparkle with raw metal deposits. Snails with iron-plated scales on their feet tuck themselves against the flow, armored against the extreme chemistry. We are not just observers. We are visitors to a world being forged in real time, a place where stone itself is alive and growing. The miracle at work here is one of immense planetary cycles. Rain and seawater seep down 4 miles through cracks in the Earth's crust. Deep within, near magma chambers, this water is superheated to hundreds of degrees. Under immense pressure, it doesn't boil. Instead, it becomes a powerful solvent, dissolving minerals and loading itself with chemical energy. This supercharged fluid, now lighter than the cold water above, is driven violently back toward the seafloor. As it erupts and meets the near-freezing ocean, the dissolved minerals instantly precipitate, solidifying into the chimney structures we see. Stone that builds itself, breath by breath. It's not just at volcanic ridges. Far from the fire of tectonic boundaries, a different kind of vent field exists. To Lost City. Here, magnificent towers of pale carbonate, some towering nearly 200 feet high, rise like chalk cathedrals from the seafloor. They don't spout black smoke, but exhale a warm, alkaline breath. The chemistry is different, gentler. It's in places like these, within the tiny mineral pores of these growing chimneys, that some scientists imagine life itself could have begun sheltered from the chaotic ancient world. The first complex reactions learning to become life. This reality resonates with stories we've told for millennia. Ancient Greeks spoke of Hephaestus, this hammering out thunderbolts and magnificent creations in his forge beneath the volcanic islands. Polynesian myths place the origin of fire under the sea, a hidden, sacred heat that shapes coastlines and human moods. Here, drifting through this alien landscape, we find a profound truth that listens to those old intuitions. There really are workshops under the waves, and chimneys that never cool. We move through them with the same reverence one feels in a great cathedral. Quiet fins, steady breath, our heads tilted back as the spires vanish into the endless night above. In this silent world, we now let sound regain its place. The ocean isn't quiet. It's just speaking a different language. Scattered across the globe, hydrophones underwater microphones have learned to hear the planet at work. We can hear the deep creak and pop of cooling lava as it settles on the seafloor, the faint sigh of superheated fluids finding new cracks in the rock, and the distant rattling whisper of earthquakes traveling through thousands of miles of water. Among these earthly voices, our instruments have picked up other, stranger songs, patterns of sound so distinct and powerful they were given names, their origins chased with ink and endless patience. Let's speak them softly now, as if greeting old acquaintances in a crowded room. Bloop, a powerful, ultra-low frequency sound, heard only once in 1997, that remains one of the ocean's greatest mysteries. Upsweep, a long train of narrow-band sounds that has been heard seasonally for decades. Slow down, a sound that, as its name suggests, has been gradually slowing in frequency since it was first detected. Julia, a haunting noise recorded in the Pacific, loud enough to be heard by sensors across the entire ocean basin. The train, the whistle, and the peculiar Western Pacific beat, each was heard, charted, and argued over. It could be the groans of colossal icebergs calving, the rumblings of undersea volcanoes, or perhaps the calls of whales we do not yet know well enough to name. But the spell of their names, the mystery they hold, remains. The ocean is humming with a conversation we have only just begun to overhear. As the city events fades behind us, we turn our ears outward, away from the forges and into the vast, dark auditorium of the water column, where echoes can travel for the length of continents. We dim the lights of our submersible, and we just listen, not for answers, but for the next beautiful question. Listen. Can you hear it? A sound like a cathedral door opening underwater, slow and immense. Then, a fast, clean curve of sound, like a whale's breath sharpened to silver, and a long, descending groan that seems to slide the whole world a little lower. These are not ghosts, and yet they haunt. These are the voices of the deep ocean, sounds without faces. This is a story of the ocean's ears. During the Cold War, the sea was wired for sound. Vast networks of underwater microphones, called hydrophone arrays, were stretched across the seafloor, designed to listen for the silent glide of enemy submarines. When the tension thawed, many of those listeners were turned outward, away from human conflict and toward the mysteries of the planet itself. They began to hear the deep conversations of whales, the grinding of tectonic plates, and the strange, ancient mutterings of the sea. And then, in 1997, they heard something that defied explanation. A sound rolled through the South Pacific, a sound so powerful, so tremendously loud, that it was picked up by multiple sensors thousands of kilometers apart. It was given a name, the Bloop. For years, people imagined what could make such a colossal noise. Was it an animal, a creature larger than any we had ever known, playful or monstrous, moving through the abyss? The idea captured our imagination. Later, scientists leaned toward a different explanation. A massive iceberg calving from an Antarctic glacier, or the collapse of a pressurized ice cave. The ocean holds both giants and ice, and either answers its own kind of wonder. The Bloop wasn't the only mystery caller. We have to name these sounds with care, because in the deep, certainty is a luxury we don't have. There was Upsweep, first heard in 1991. It's a seasonal a rising series of notes whose source is still debated. Is it volcanic activity? The shifting of immense ice sheets. We offer possibilities, not verdicts. Then there was Slowdown. Also in 1997, a sound that drops in pitch over several minutes, as if something of unimaginable size exhaled slowly through the water. Julia's thick, mournful voice arrived in 1999, a powerful groan that filled an entire hydrophone net, like a thick fog. And more recently, in 2017, the Western Pacific biotwang, a strange, metallic noise that bounced in the ear like a jaw harp. That one, we think, was likely a minke whale, performing a kind of private art in the dark. The deep teaches humility by the kilometer. Let's pause for a moment. Let the silence between these names fill with the sound that is always there. The water is never empty. Blue whales speak in infrasonic phrases, their calls so low and powerful they can wrap around the globe like a gentle, planetary bell. Fin whales knock on the walls of the world with rhythmic pulses. Sperm whales click like living cameras, sending out sound and building detailed images of their surroundings from the echoes that return. Our submersible drifts in this grand cathedral, and every sound we hear is a stained glass window, lit from behind by the immense pressure and unfathomable time of the deep sea. When the last echo of these strange voices fades, we return our attention to the seafloor, to the shapes that appear when we shine a light where light does not naturally go. Not every puzzle in the dark is a voice. Some are stones, formations that look so deliberate, so placed, it seems someone must have put them there on purpose. And sometimes, it turns out, someone did. We angle our light toward a rocky shelf, and what we see makes us hold our breath. There, descending into the fine silt, are what look like steps. The line between natural geology and ancient craft blurs gently in the beam of our light. Another question posed by the silent, waiting dark. The spotlight finds a shape that feels too deliberate for nature. Steps, the edges softened by time. A terrace that catches the light and the imagination. We've learned to be cautious with symmetry out here. The ocean carves with currents and chemistry, and sometimes its language mimics our own. Think of the Yanaguni Monument off the coast of Japan. It's a vast stone edifice, shaped by both geological forces and fierce debate. Diverse sea terraces, ledges, and sharp angles that fill their masks with wonder. Is it a natural formation? Most geologists nod yes, pointing to the powerful currents that could sculpt such features. But does it feel like a ruin from a lost world when you swim along its colossal flanks? Yes, absolutely. It speaks to a part of us that looks for stories in stone. Let's consider two more. There's the Baltic Sea anomaly. A sonar image revealed a strange, almost mushroom-shaped feature on the seabed. It sparked tales of ancient wheels and crashed UFOs. But when divers finally reached it, they found glacial rock, a trick of the light and shadow. But imagination's roots are stubborn and deep. Then there's the Bimini Road in the Bahamas, a formation of tidy, rectangular blocks marching across the shallows. It looks like a sunken road, a pathway to a forgotten city. Science tells us it's likely beach rock, fractured by time and tides into these geometric patterns. But when the sunlight drapes itself across them, it's hard not to see a road paved by ancient hands. We are creatures who see faces in clouds and temples and cliffs. The ocean allows us this poetry without promising anything more. Yet, not every straight line is a trick of the eye. The seabed is a museum of human endeavor. It holds amphari, their clay bodies still waiting for wine, anchors that bit into the sand for the last time. Entire cities lost to earthquakes and storms, and ships that sailed into a sunset and never saw another dawn. Our lights drift over a scatter of timbers, preserved by the cold and the immense pressure of the deep. There, a brass porthole gleams like a sleeping, golden eye. A length of anchor chain arcs across the sand, a line drawn between eras. We see ghost nets, lost fishing gear, draped like ivy across the decks of sunken vessels. They were made to trap, but now they've become unintentional reefs, teeming with life, we patiently are wake. A mere whisper in this silent world. Myths are woven into these depths just as tightly as the kelp. In Norse Telis, the sea goddess ran casts her immense net wide, claiming whatever and whoever she will for her underwater haul. Her 9 daughters, the waves, carry sailors to her domain. In the Yoruba tradition of West Africa, the Orisha, Olukan rules the deepest parts of the ocean, holding all the riches, wisdom, and secrets of the world below. Olukan is the keeper of mysteries too profound for the surface world to comprehend. As we move through these spaces, we feel like respectful guests in their ancient, silent rooms. Our lights just small candles against the overwhelming dark. From the edge of our vision, something bone-pale gleams. It's a fallen sweep of vertebrae, arranged like a broken colonnade from an ancient temple. Ribs arc out from the spine, plunging into the silt like the collapsed arches of a forgotten chapel. This isn't a ruin from a human empire, though. This is a city in the process of being built. We turn toward it, our thrusters slowing to a whisper, our speed barely a thought. The scale is immense, dwarfing our submersible. Each bone is a testament to a life that was lived on a scale we can hardly imagine. It's a whale fall, a gift of immense energy to the abyss. It begins as a shadow, a fleeting eclipse in the perpetual twilight of the deep sea. Then, a gentle hush as tons of life settle onto the seafloor. This is a whale fall, and in this crushing darkness, life is not just present, it has been waiting. From the gloom, the first arrivals emerge. Hagfish, like slow, silken ribbons, glide towards the bounty. Their ancient, jawless mouths are ready to begin the great work of recycling. Sleeper sharks, primitive and powerful, flick their fins like punctuation in a long, silent sentence, tearing away huge chunks of blubber and muscle. And from the surrounding sediment, a living tide arises. Amphipods, tiny crustaceans, pour out of the dark like animated sand, a swarming, crawling blanket that covers the colossal form. The feast is frenzied, yet strangely orderly. In a matter of hours, most of the flesh is gone. The skeleton, once hidden, now gleams bone-white against the dark seabed, a stark and beautiful architecture. Months pass. The last threads of soft tissue, the stubborn ligaments and cartilage, are stripped away by smaller, patient scavengers. The initial chaos subsides, and a new, more enduring phase begins. The skeleton is no longer a carcass, it is becoming a neighborhood. This isn't a morbid spectacle, it's an act of profound generosity. One single life is in the process of becoming thousands. Now, we settle in. Our voice is low, our movements slow. A new community takes root, one that feeds not on the flesh, but on the very bones themselves. Deep within the marrow, bacteria bloom, a hidden chemistry lab producing sulfides. This scent, undetectable to us, is a dinner bell for a second wave of life. And here they come. Asterisk, Ozidax. Asterisk, the bone-eating. Worms arrive. They're like phantom gardeners, planting themselves on the bone. They have no mouths, no stomachs. Instead, they send down green, root-like structures that delve deep into the bone's core. Inside these roots, symbiotic bacteria do the hard work, dissolving the bone and releasing nutrients. The worm, in turn, harvests the sugars from this intricate chemical exchange. The bones are covered in a strange, feathery, red carpet. Look closer. The whaleless skeleton is now a bustling metropolis. Tiny snails and limpets graze on the bacterial films coating the surfaces. Polychaete worms build their delicate tubes in the crevices of the vertebrae. The scaffolding of a former self has become a high-rise apartment complex, a marketplace, a nursery. A city of bone grows, thrives, and in time, it too will be recycled, its minerals dissolving back into the water, leaving only a faint impression in the silt, a ghost of a memory on the ocean floor. Let's drift among the vertebrae, passing through them as if they were the columns of a forgotten temple. On the sand below, a brittle star, delicate and pale, draws a slow, perfect circle. one arm extended like the needle of a compass, methodically sweeping for sustenance. All around the massive rib cage, bioluminescent embers pulse and flicker. These are copepods, tiny jellies, and other planktonic life, each one flashing for its own reason a warning. A lure, a call to a mate. The quiet here is not empty, it's full. It's a silence composed of a million tiny heartbeats, of water moving through gills, of the infinitesimal scrape of a snail's radula on bone. You find yourself whispering, not out of fear, but out of a sudden, deep-seated reverence. Time here is a different fabric, woven with pressure and patience. This city of bone might last for decades, a vibrant oasis in the abyssal desert. But eventually, it too will vanish. The ocean is tender in its erasures. It keeps what it wants and gently dissolves the rest. We begin to back away, not because we are unwelcome, but because we understand we are merely visitors. The deep is patient, with both those who linger and those who must leave. As we turn our submersible, our lights catch something new, something that doesn't belong to the organic world. A lattice of riveted metal plates slides out of the darkness, a ghost from another time. It's studded with life sea anemones bloom where welders once worked, and soft corals sway from structures built for a different kind of pressure. We could just make out letters, worn by time and current into faint suggestions on the hull. A ship's wheel is frozen mid-spin, its purpose lost to the deep. The bones of our own machines also become reefs. Their hard metals and alloys, so alien to this world, hum with a new kind of life, offering purchase to crabs, sea squirts, and 1,000 other creatures. Our sub slows, and our beam follows the long, decaying curve of a hull, tracing a line not just along steel, but deep into memory. We approach a shipwreck as if entering a museum after hours, our movements slow, our breath held steady. Here, on the ocean floor, time moves differently. Rust and barnacles have transformed steel into a delicate, intricate lasso. From the darkness of a hatch, an octopus peers out, a silent guardian, before gently pulling the door shut with a single, curious arm. The brass fittings have lost their shine, and the ship's name has long been weathered away. But its form, its essential shape, endures. It's a human story written in steel and steeped in salted time. The sea is in no rush to claim or to cleanse. It simply allows the sharp edges to soften, until even a tragedy becomes just another part of the benthic landscape, providing shelter for fish and an anchor for new coral life. Far from Era, in the most remote part of our world, lies a place known as Point Nemo. It's the oceanic pole of inaccessibility, the point on Earth farthest from any land. This is where humanity sends its old ambitions to rest. Aging spacecraft, their long journeys through the void complete, are aimed here to burn up in the atmosphere and fall into the deep. Imagine them descending, fiery fragments like forgotten constellations, scattering across the abyssal plains. One quiet hiss, a bloom of foam, and then silence. Metal meets water in the profound darkness. The ocean, without judgment or malice, keeps a patient ledger of our attempts to reach beyond our world, storing the remnants of our skyward dreams in its silent depths. As we glide over the seabed, we see ghost nets, lost fishing gear, billowing like spectral curtains in the gentle currents. They drift and sway, snaring and releasing with the rhythm of the tides. A silent, ongoing dance. A little further on, a lost remotely operated vehicle sits motionless, its lights dark, looking as if it simply paused to catch its breath and fell into a deep sleep among the delicate sea lilies. We pass over a field of ancient amphorae, pottery from a Roman galley, their open mouths now filled with centuries of sand. Nearby, a modern shipping container lies with its doors bent and warped, like a book left out in the rain. Different eras, different stories, but they all share the same profound silence. If there is a language to this slow corrosion, it's one of long, drawn-out vowels, a soft, humming cadence that rounds every edge. The fish that live here are not curious about us. They are simply home. We are the visitors, the transient ones, struck with awe by this accidental harmony. Leaving the field of wrecks behind, the seafloor begins to tilt. The smooth, sandy plain gives way to something far more dramatic. On our maps, The contour lines bunch together, indicating a steep descent. We are at the edge of cliffs that fall, and keep falling until the very word deep feels inadequate and thin. It's a descent into a world of immense pressure, a pressure so complete it feels like a thought turning to stone. Even our sensitive instruments seem to speak more softly now, their electronic whispers careful not to disturb the ancient stillness of the water. We follow the slope downwards, towards the trenches, those immense folds in the Earth's crust where the planet itself seems to hold its breath. This is where the world's memory is kept, in the crushing, patient dark. The edge of the trench is a lip over an endless night. We go over slowly, like a leaf tipping at the edge of a deep well. The depth increases in numbers that feel imaginary, unreal, until the hull murmurs back. Calm and sour, a steady heartbeat in the dark. We're entering the Heddle Zone, the deepest part of the ocean, below 6,000 meters. Its name comes from Hades, the underworld, but you shouldn't think of it as a threat. Think of it as a boundary, a final frontier on our own planet. Down here, the temperature holds near freezing. The pressure is immense, stacking up with every meter, enough to crush air and turn styrofoam to something as dense as rock. And yet, against all odds, life is here. It moves, opportunistic and precise, a testament to resilience. Look there, that's a snailfish. It looks like a whisper given shape, translucent, almost ghostly, utterly unbothered by pressures that would buckle steel. It drifts, delicate and serene. And those sudden movements, amphipods, flitting in energetic bursts, tiny crustaceans roped to the bottom by the dual forces of gravity and appetite. They are the frantic pulse in this slow-motion world. And what is that? Sailing by like a pink kite caught in an invisible current. It's the headless chicken sea cucumber. Asterisk. And Ipney asks, asterisk. It's elegant, a little absurd, and a beautiful reminder that the deep is not grim or monstrous. It is wildly inventive. Even here, in the supposed absolute darkness, there is light. Bioluminescent signals flicker. And the blackness, private language is exchanged between neighbors. In the vast, silent expanse, a flash here, a glow there, a conversation we can only witness, not understand. The geology itself speaks a language of immense power and time. We are in a subduction zone, a place where one tectonic plate grinds beneath another. The Earth's crust is alive. Earthquakes send signals through the water like cosmic drumbeats, their vibrations traveling for thousands of kilometers. You can see methane bubbles hazing from seams in the seafloor, vents where the continents think and shift on a geological time. In some trenches, we find something truly strange. Long, narrow pools of super salty brine, gathering like pockets of another alien ocean within our own. Their surfaces are as still and motionless as oil. We keep our submersible to the edge, respectful observers, and let our light skim gently across the ground, painting a temporary picture on an ancient canvas. Data Benera. We find a sobering thread, a reminder of our reach. Scientists have found tiny particles of plastic in the stomachs of amphipods, collected from the deepest trenches. Industrial chemicals, carried by currents, have settled into the sediment. Our presence has made it to the very end of the world. The deep is not untouched, but it is not unresisting either. It has an incredible capacity to absorb, to slow things down. Being here teaches you about scale, about time. It recalibrates the frantic clock in your head, forcing you to adjust to a rhythm that is slower, deeper, and far more profound. It's in places like this that our myths feel most real. The world tree, which holds up the sky in some ancient stories, must have roots that reach into places just like this trench. In other tales, a great serpent sleeps, coiled around the world's waist, turning slowly in the abyss. The ocean keeps these shapes, these ideas, for us, because we need them to think with, to make sense of a world so much larger than ourselves. Our instruments chirp, a steady rhythm of data. Suddenly, a distant sound touches the hydrophone. It's like a fingertip brushing against a microphone, a long, wavering call we cannot identify. A sound that doesn't match any known creature. It fades as quickly as it came, disappearing into the seam between water and stone, leaving only a question mark hanging in the dark. Our mission here is drawing to a close. We begin our ascent upslope. A faint glow begins to dust the water, like stars shaken from a shawl. We rise toward it, our small vessel steady and sure, climbing back to meet the night that blooms on the surface, waiting for us on purpose. We enter a snowfall of light. Each spark is a choice defense, an invitation, a masquerade. Together, they form a tapestry without a weaver, a story told in fleeting moments of brilliance. Comb jellies rake rainbows down their rows of cilia. Their movements are silent, colorful music. Ostracods, tiny crustaceans, stitch dotted lines across the black canvas, like Morse code sent between unseen worlds. Asiponopor, unforls, a living thread of many bodies, acting as one. Its pulse is traveling down its length, like thoughts rippling through a single mind. This bioluminescence reads like handwriting made of time. We trace it with our eyes, not trying to translate, not needing to. It's enough to know it means something to someone in this vast, dark kingdom. We are simply witnesses to a language we were never meant to understand. And that in itself is a profound privilege. Our journey folds back on itself now, gently, without needing to recap every detail. It's more a feeling, a sense of having moved through many chapters, many hidden rooms of this planet. We've listened to voices without faces, the clicks and calls that echo for miles. We've hovered over lakes inside the sea, brine pools so dense they form their own shorelines on the ocean floor. We've felt the imagined heat of hydrothermal chimneys, black smokers building castles of minerals. And we've known the profound, crushing calm of the trenches, where life persists against all odds. We've drifted past cities of bone, the skeletal remains of great whales, creating entire ecosystems on the abyssal plain. And we've contemplated the patient memory of machines, our own probes resting silently in the mud. We offer no verdicts on what we've seen, no final answers. Instead, we offer a posture, one of curiosity, of humility, of taking that long, slow breath before asking a new question. The ocean keeps its counsel, and when it chooses, it shares a metaphor or a mystery for us to carry back to the surface, back to our own world. I want you to find a quiet place to stand in your mind. Picture it. A deck at night, the air tasting of salt. The rain is soft, a gentle drumming on the steel around you. The ship itself seems to breathe with the rhythm of the waves. You look out, and the horizon has no edges. The sea and the sky have merged into a single, infinite dark. The deep, you realize, is not just a map of distances and depths. It is a way of paying attention. When we set hydrophones in the water, when we lower our small, tough suns into the crushing dark, we aren't demanding answers. We are learning to ask better questions. What else moves beneath the false seafloor? That strange, shifting layer of marine life that migrates every day. What other chemistries write gardens where light cannot possibly reach? Which sounds belong to the groaning of ice, the slow creak of shifting basalt, the mournful songs of whales, and which sounds belong to things we have yet to even dream into focus? The more we listen, the more we realize how little we know, and the more wonderful the world becomes. Let's return to a single sound. Maybe it's that distant blue whale call we heard earlier, a note so low it's felt as much as it's heard. Or maybe it's a faint, geologic creak of shifting rock, a reminder of the planet's slow, powerful heartbeat. Let it fill the space for a moment, and now let it fade, until the only thing left is the sound of your own breath, in and out. I invite you to keep listening, even after the story ends. Bring this slow, patient attention to the next rainstorm you hear, the next long night drive, the next quiet room you find yourself in. The world is always speaking in its own quiet languages. If this voyage through the unexplained deep has eased your evening or sparked your wonder, please leave a like to help it find other curious minds. Share your favorite ocean mystery or the sound from our journey that you can't stop thinking about in the comments below. And for more long-form journeys like this, cinematic stories that blend history, myth, and the patient science of listening, be sure to subscribe. The ocean will keep whispering its secrets, and we can keep returning One light, one question at a time. Thank you for listening.